Hey, what is up guys? So we're going to be checking out a bunch of new cards. Some of these are new archetypes and a lot of the stuff looks pretty sweet, and I think this has a good chance to involve a lot of the older stuff into the game because I know that there are fan favorite cards. First card I want to share with you guys, oh my gosh, it is so cool. It's a new Red Eyes X-Fuzzy. And does this card not look beast or what? I love the way that they drew this card. I think I'm definitely going to make a Gorse token out of that. But anyways, it's a new card for Red Eyes, but any deck can make it. It is a generic rank 7 called Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. It's got 2800 attack and it requires just 2 level 7 monsters. And its first effect is that if it has materials, it can't be destroyed by card effects. Its second effect is that while it has materials, inflict 500 damage to your opponent each time your opponent activates a card or effect. And I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And then if that wasn't enough, once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach one material from this card, then target one Red Eyes normal monster in graveyard to special summon it. So some of the cards will count as Red Eyes in the graveyard, or they could be Gemini, whatever. That's pretty cool because I mean, you could just remake that card again if your opponent doesn't get rid of it. And I think that small burn damage, I mean, some of you guys are like, dude, that's not even relevant. It can be relevant. I mean, you know, how many guys have lost to Gaga Cowboy? I know I've lost to it, and I really like this card because basically, once you get this card out, more than likely, if you're playing this card in a Red Eyes deck, you get another free Red Eyes, you know, normal monster from your graveyard. So you're going to be able to push for relatively decent damage. And then we have that first effect over here where, you know, it can't be destroyed by card effects. So, like, they can't, well, they can activate Regeki, but this card's going to stay on board. You're going to lose your other Red Eyes, but then you can just, like, bring it back again. So I think that that is pretty cool. I like this effect, actually, because there are so many times when randomly, like, you try to go for an OTK, and then, like, you're just short, like, you know, 200-300, and, like, next turn it's like, oh, your opponent wants to do anything? Okay, you just lose. So that can be very frustrating to deal with this card, but nonetheless, the artwork, man, it is just way too cool. But anyways, next up, guys, there is Toon Support announced. This is the one card that there's actually that we'll be talking about. It's just Cyber Dragon and it can't attack during turn summon, and then if you control Toon Word, you can attack directly, and it has the effect where they can't attack during the same turn that they're summoned. Pretty cool card. There's actually really good Toon Support coming out, which we'll talk about later. I'm kind of waiting for the rest of the stuff because I think Toons, I'm not even kidding, guys, the Toon Support, it looks like it's like a direct attack deck that just is going to be the most annoying thing to run into, but we'll get into that later. And of course, you can't attack during the turn they're summoned, so maybe that can be basically a downside enough to make the deck not viable. But anyways, the more Red Eye support is the Black Metal Dragon over here. It's a level 1 dark. It almost reminded me of a Union. I don't know if you guys remember Union. You can kind of equip it to it, but it was kind of phased out in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But anyways, its first effect is you can target a Red Eyes monster you control, equip it from your hand, or side of field, gain 6 for attack, whatever. And then the second effect is if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Red Eyes. It says CAD, but I assume that means card from your deck to your hand. Pretty good effect because any of the Red Eye support that comes out in the future, maybe, that will be very viable. That card is looking pretty awesome, and it's level 1, so you can ask, you know, 1 for 1. 1 for 1 is looking really good. There's so much awesome support with 1 for 1, whether it's the Atlantean Prince or maybe this card or something like that. Next up, we have this archetype called the Ignites, and I briefly want to just mention what they do. Basically, they're a pendulum-based deck where you destroy your own stuff, and then you get to go plus, like, and then on top of going plus with the stuff that you're destroying, you're going to be putting them, you know, more than likely in the pendulum zone, and then you're just going to have free cards to summon. So the deck is going to be kind of crazy. I would say it looks like it's oriented around OTKing, but anyways, the Stinger over here, it is a level 8 that makes it so you can target 3 Ignite cards you control, destroy them, and then you special summon this card from your hand. And then once per turn, you can target 1 other face-up Ignite monster you control, and return it to the hand. If you do, put 1 monster opponent controls to the bottom of the deck. So basically, you're going to be penduluming like crazy, and then you're going to destroy your own stuff, and then you're going to be able to, you know, maybe bounce back a card or do whatever, some little shenanigans, some free little advantage here. And then, of course, your monsters are going to go to the pendulum zone, so it's not really like they're destroyed forever. So you're just going to bring them out probably the next turn. Anyways, next up, there's the field spell, which I think is pretty cool. It's once per turn, you target 1 Ignite card you control, destroy it, and if you do, add 1 Ignite card from your deck to your hand. So a lot of free utility here. And then, of course, you know, some of the cards will get some effects when they're destroyed and stuff. Almost reminds me like Burning Abyss is like, oh, I can, like, get rid of my cards that violate. Oh, don't worry, I got pluses, you know what I mean? So this one is actually pretty cool. This is Ignite Burst. Almost reminds me kind of like a Fire Lake, but, you know, better in some scenarios. So it's a continuous trap card that says once per turn during your main phase, you can choose up to 3 Ignite cards you control and destroy them. Then return a number of cards the opponent controls up to the number of cards the opponent controls to the owner's hand equal to the amount of cards destroyed. So And that's an up to, which is like, that's so much utility in the game. And then if that wasn't enough, guys, if this card is sent to the graveyard, choose one Ignite monster that is face up in your extra deck, and you add it back to your hand. So they're all about just going Pendulum, destroy, and then you Pendulum summon everything. At least that's, from my knowledge, that's what I've seen from some of the things that players were talking about, and it was in some OCG blog that I saw a while back ago. Anyways, guys, you remember that time we were talking about the XYZ Pendulum that would never come out in the game, right? It would never come out. I'm like, guys, we never know now with the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Anything is possible. But anyways, they did it, guys. There is a XYZ Pendulum Monster, and this is really cool because I feel like now we can totally get Synchro, Ritual, Fusion Pendulum Monsters. It's pretty cool to see what they're going to do with this game. So it's Celula Koku Ryu Odd-Eyes Rebellion Dragon. It is a rank 7 that has, it's got a Pendulum effect, of course, it's got a monster effect. It's got a scale of 4, 3,000 attack. And its Pendulum effect is, once per turn, if you do not have a card in your other Pendulum zone, you can place one Pendulum monster from your main deck in your other Pendulum zone. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. It's like Scout, you know, you have to add life points. That is crazy, and there's like no restriction. Just any Pendulum monster from your main deck. That already is an insane effect. And then its monster effect is that if you control a Pendulum summon, it's if you can Pendulum summon level 7 monsters, you can Pendulum summon this face-up card from your extra deck. And that's pretty awesome already. And then, if that wasn't enough, if this card is XYZ summoned by using XYZ monster as XYZ material, I know, so confusing, right? Destroy all level 7 or lower monsters your opponent controls. And if you do, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent for each destroyed. During this turn, this card can make 2 additional attacks during each battle phase. And so this is actually technically watered down, but it doesn't really matter anyways. And then if this card is destroyed by battle or effect in the monster zone, you can destroy all cards in your Pendulum zones. And if you do, place this card in Pendulum. Oh, resets for days, man. This card is insane. It's got 3,000 attack, and it can attack 3 times, and then it blows up everything that's 7 or lower. Wow, that is pretty cool. Obviously, you know, XYZ is just bad. Oh, bro, I don't have a level, but that is way crazy, and I don't even feel like this card is really watered down because you're going to inflict damage to your opponent for each card or each of the monsters that you're destroying, and then it attacks 3 times. That, as long as they have one monster, that's over 9,000, so Vegeta would be very shocked indeed. I think this is crazy. This card is just, like, look at him, man. He's just ready to go, and that card looks pretty cool. I can't wait to try it out on DevPro. Next up, we got the Celula Koku no Matsutsuchi. I believe is the pronunciation. I'm probably pronouncing all these cards wrong. Anyways, they are a new spellcaster like Pendulum. I don't really understand how they work as of right now, but it's once per turn. You can target one XYZ monster you control during this turn. It can be used as an XYZ material for an XYZ summon that would use a level that is the same as the rank of that monster. So I kind of like this extra, like, random new, like, things that they're bringing into the game. Extra utility and just different playstyles are always cool to, you know, kind of refresh the game. And then also it has the monster effect that once per turn during either player's turn, you can targe, but I think it means target due to translation, but it says one light monster on the field, negate that monster's effects until the end of this turn. And then we got another card over here. It's Soju no Matsutsuchi over here, and only 500 attack, but it's actually got a pretty unique effect. Its Pendulum effect is that once per turn you can target one XYZ monster you control, and then it has that same, like, where until the end of the turn, the rank of the XYZ monster becomes the same number as the level of that level 5 or higher monster. And then if you control more cards than your opponent, the scale of this card becomes 4. And then its monster effect is that your opponent takes no battle damage from battles involving this card. And then once per turn you can target one other monster in the field. Until the end of the turn, this card's attack becomes equal to the monster's attack. Reminds me of, like, Copycat, and it's cool to have, like, random little utility. I don't really know where this deck is going, but it's cool that they have this effect. Now we have some new support for the DDDs. I know we haven't gotten these cards in the TCG yet, but they didn't really do anything at OCG. I mean, they're a pretty interesting deck because they can Fusion, they can XYZ, they can Synchro, they have a lot of different utility, and they're trying to support them a little bit more. I think this was supposed to be the introduction deck to, like, just make everything, but, you know, basically now a lot of decks can make a lot of different stuff without the use of, you know, just random stuff. We have Nodin for, like, a lot of random stuff, but anyways, DeeDee, Oracle, Overlord, D-Arc, or I think it's supposed to be like Dark, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, so it just requires 2 DeeDee monsters, and that's a pretty good effect. While this card is face up, card effects that would inflict damage to you instead makes you gain that life points. Now, if you don't know what the DDDs do, basically they inflict damage to themselves by getting, like, free little advantage. They do have to damage themselves, but then all of their card effects, sometimes when you take damage, you can, like, special summon this card. They have a lot of utility when you take damage. and this is going to make it so you're gaining life points instead of going backwards. The DeeDees were supposed to be a rushed archetype, as in you would complete your scale and you would do stuff, and you would be draining your life points, and you would be basically lowering your own pendulum scale to the point where the cards were unusable, unless, of course, you're using the certain cards to bounce back. It was supposed to be kind of like a super fast deck, but they kind of just got outsped by a lot of the other stuff, and the deck is kind of conditional, and it can have consistency problems, but looks like they're trying to support it a little bit more. And then we have DeeDee Pandora. I think a lot of people are going to get excited for this card just because it's a card with draw power, and we're going to try to break the game in the TCG like we always do with cards that have draw power. But anyways, this card is triggered by battle or by your opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard while you control no cards. You can draw 2 cards. And I was like, well, maybe Frog Monarchs, but 1700 attack, I'm not really interested in that. Like, tributing for this, I would rather tribute for Majesty's Fiend or Vanity's Fiend and try to just, like, win the game through that. But nonetheless, maybe someone can figure out how to break this card, like, you can, like, reduce the level. But even then, like, you're losing your normal summon, and, like, normal summons in decks, like when you have cards like Denko Sekka, which is your normal summon that can just basically mean your opponent doesn't have, like, you know, anything to, you know, stop my OTK, well, you're basically going to lose because all your back were completely useless indeed. Next up, we got new XYZ for DeeDees as well. It just requires 2 level 5 monsters, so any deck can make it. It's got 23 attack. And then you can also summon this card by using a rank 4 DeeDee, so like free cards for them. And then once per turn, during a turn in which you have taken effect damage, you can detach one material from this card to target one face-up monster on the field. It loses 1000 attack and defense, and if it does, your opponent takes another 1000 damage. So basically, you can think of this card as a monster that has 4300 attack, because you're going to make it so they're going to take 1000 damage, and you're also going to make their monster lose 1000. So, like I said, it can definitely be considered like almost in a sense where it has 4300 attack. And then in addition to that, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can send one DeeDee or cabinet card from your deck to the graveyard, which can kind of help them set up, and so all their cards can like grab cards from the grave and stuff like that. Next up, this is a new plant archetype that is revolved around you having more life points than your opponent in order for their effects to activate. So the field spell over here is the Erotic Garden, and it's once per turn. If you control a Aroma monster, you can gain 500 life points, and then after you activate this effect, all monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then its second effect is, if an Aroma monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you gain 1000 life points. So this actually is kind of important. It's not necessarily just for the free life points, guys. It's actually because all their effects are like, oh, if you gain life points, you get free stuff. So, so we're gonna skip this first part of the effect. It's just if you have more life points than your opponent. During your main phase, you can normal summon another plant type monster in addition to your normal summoner set, except for the same copy of itself. This is Aromage Jasmine. Probably should have read the name first, but anyways, it's a level 2 light, and it's got really low attack, but it's got decent defense. And I was thinking, well, if this card was a tuner, we can open up the door to a lot of stuff. But I'm like, well, maybe we can make use of this in Sylvans, because not only can you maybe splash these in Sylvans, because we are getting Sylvans reprinted, so it'll be nice for everyone to have them, and maybe we can just incorporate these as other cards in the deck. But its second effect is once per turn, if you gain life points, you can draw 1 card. And I was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool, because if you leave this card on the field and your opponent activates Upstart, bam, you gain extra, you know, life points, obviously, and you get to draw a card. So maybe they're trying to tell us, no more Upstart, guys. If you're an Upstart, you're going to get wrecked against this deck. But that's kind of cool. I mean, I like the idea of just trying out new random ways to do things. But I feel like this card might be able to become broken, because especially if you're playing, especially if the deck has so much just free like life point gained, like you could just keep on like drawing cards, because this is not going to use up your normal summon. And I was thinking, well, it is your normal summon that gives you an additional normal summon. So I'm like, okay, well maybe I can just be like, maybe my opponent goes first, I can like summon Cosmo Beat, or like maybe I go on my turn, I go special summon Cyber Dragon, or some other card to extend combos to make like, you know, bigger extensive plays, you know, Paul Quasar and stuff, because we do have that new Junk Synchron structure deck coming out hopefully soon in the TCG. So I'm like, maybe we could just make use of this deck to make it like a Quasar deck too, because getting a free level 2 monster definitely can be key, because, you know, Junk Synchron level 3 tuner, getting back other cards, we have, you know, Doppel 2, and we're getting back other cards. We can do a lot of stuff with this, so I think this card has a little bit of utility for maybe some other decks as well. And I know that, of course, with this card, you know, you can't normal summon an additional Junk Synchron, but I'm thinking like maybe if you call the Haunted, you know, we will figure out some crazier plays. But next up we have Bergamot over here, and it is level 6, so I'm like, I want to hear monsters that are over level 4, I'm like, can we splash someone really easy? And its effect is, well, its first effect is if your life point's higher than your opponent's, all plant type monsters you control inflict piercing damage. I'm like, whatever. And then once per turn, if you gain life points, it gains 1,000 attack and defense. I'm like, well, that's pretty much irrelevant. I mean, you're going to be gaining a bunch of attack anyways. It doesn't really stun your opponent. I mean, maybe you can OTK with it. I wish it was like it boosted up all of them by 1,000 attack and defense. But the other card that we saw before, the Garden, it does give you all monsters. So that doesn't just include the Aro mages or the Aro mages. What's funny is when I think of mage, I personally think of spellcasters, but nonetheless, maybe they'll change the name in the TCG once those come out. Next up, we have Aro mage, Kananaga, Yanglang? Long? I don't know. Anyways, its first effect is that if your life points are higher than your opponent's, all monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack and defense, and then once per turn, if you gain life points, you target one spell trap card the opponent controls, and you get to bounce it back to the owner's hand. And then we also have Rosemary over here, which has got 1,800. Oh, this card has 1,400 attack. Sorry, totally forgot about that. But anyways, Rosemary over here has got 1,800 attack. And then if your life points are higher than your opponent's, when a plant monster you control battles, your opponent can't activate anything until the end of the damage step. And then once per turn, if you gain life points, you target one face-up monster and change that monster's battle position. A lot of cards in the game, if you guys didn't know, that have like decent attack, usually have like bad defense. So being able to move the card into like defense position, and then on top of that, you can, I mean, if you have more of these other cards, like you're gonna be able to, you know, maybe bounce back something, and then, you know, move a monster defense mode, draw a card. But I'm feeling like maybe it's just gonna be too slow because I don't see it being too abused right now, other than that one card where we can draw a card. Anything that has potential where we can draw cards, someone usually can abuse it. I mean, I know it's once per turn, but someone's going to figure out maybe how to abuse this card. Because I feel like this card, since it doesn't use it for normal summon, like you can normal summon this, you know, get another normal summon, Lone Fire. We can figure out things with this. So I'm really stoked to see where this card goes. Because you can Lone Fire into this card. And then it's not if you normal summon this card too, you can special summon this card for its effect. So like I said, I feel like this card has a lot of crazy utility. But anyways, guys, let me know what card are you most excited for. I honestly think that this archetype is kind of cool. I like that they're incorporating like different little playstyles where it's like you have more life points than your opponent, we're gonna have like bonus effects. That's how, like, you know, in Furries, I think that's so cool that the deck revolves around you having no hand. It's pretty cool. I like that idea. Well, Six Samurais kind of have that same mindset, but man, I'm super stoked about the way this card looks. It just looks so cool. I love how it looks. Straight up Zoid status right here. But anyways, guys, let me know what card are you most excited about, or what archetype do you think is going to be really good. I feel like they're going to make this Red Eyes archetype relatively good because they are releasing a bunch of support for Chaos Dragons in addition to this, and maybe we can splash in the Red Eyes and the Chaos Dragons together and make a really cool, like, Big Eye Snatch Steel deck, basically. And it's going to be cool just to have this card because it looks so awesome. I can't get over it, but I've said it 1,000 times. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Asian Eyes signing out.